yes, I've had a big, long journey with acceptance on body size as well. And,
Mm.
that goes on. That's a
Mm.
full-time job. Gender stuff, as I say, I'm still rooting around in that basket of labels, and maybe I will spend my whole life rooting around in that basket of labels. When I
Mm.
say I'm doing that, I don't do that all day, every day. It's just like,
Yeah.
I might always have for my gender. I might always have a blank badge.
Mm.
I might always have a don't know, not sure.
Hello and welcome to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. We get curious about all things gender, sex, and sexuality, as well as relationships, feminism, the inclusive kind, mental health and kink, and all that makes us humans unique and diverse. From body positivity to body dysmorphia, it's all welcome here. If you like what we do and want to make a contribution, you can become a patron on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/50 Shades of Gender or buy us a coffee. Links are on the website. Now, join us on a journey of inclusion, acceptance, and respect. I'm your host, Esther Lemons. I am a queer woman, and my pronouns are she and they. In this episode, I have a conversation with Jenn, who sets up websites and tech systems for micro businesses. Jenn doesn't have much of an attachment to pronouns and says they or she are fine. I mentioned Jenn in the third Reflections episode, number 75, and I mistakenly used the label non-binary, when what I meant to say was gender-free. She also gave us the labels autistic and fat. Find out what that means to Jenn in this episode. We also talk about choosing your own gender badges, the absurdity of assigned gender roles, being conscious of gender-neutral language, how autism in women is underdiagnosed, the limited choices when it comes to clothes, the balance of body neutrality, the various struggles fat people face, and putting the rainbow first rather than it being an afterthought. Please be aware we talk about fat phobia in this episode. It was recorded on January 27th, 2022. Now let's get into the episode. Hello and welcome. What's your name?
My name's Jenn.
Hello, Jenn. So let's talk about gender as we do here on this podcast. Yeah, you've given me some interesting labels, and the first one is gender-free. So how did you end up with that?
Because I've been around the whole I don't quite feel like a girl thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was assigned female at birth.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't feel like a girl thing. So I went through that tomboy thing as a
Mm.
youngster, the one of the lads or the ladette thing as a
Mm.
young adult, odd, weird, different, etc. All of those.
Mm-hmm.
Then, as I got to know people in the trans community, I was like, oh, right, okay. I was aware, obviously, of transgender people,
Mm-hmm.
but got to know people in the trans community, came across this non-binary thing. So I was like, oh hello. Hello. This is, oh, hello. I'm feeling a bit more at home here. But it's never quite stuck for me. That whole, male, female, or neuter. Now, I learned German when I was at school, so you have der, die, das.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, and in my head, I was like, okay, so you've got male, you've got female, and you've got neither or neutral.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I was like, well, that doesn't fit either.
Mm.
And, as I started, exploring more, and including this podcast was a great place for that as well. I'm
Yeah.
just seeing, there's a hell of a lot more diversity in
Mm.
gender
Mm-hmm.
than one would think. So I kind of thought, I was introducing myself as non-binary for ages,
Mm.
and then, but I don't particularly have an attachment to pronouns. I
Mm.
don't really mind being referred to as she, because to me, logically, someone looking at me would see she.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, it makes sense for them to refer to me as she.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite normal and fine.
Yeah.
To me, that is. I
Mm.
can only talk. I can only speak for myself, and just to
Of course, yeah.
preface everything I say on here, I'm only talking about how it is for me.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'd like to say,
Yeah.
if you've met one non-binary person, you've met one
One
non-binary
non-binary person.
person.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe I do fit under there, but realizing as I've dug down, there's like, oh, there's a hell of a lot more here.
Mm.
No, there's not just like non-binary. There's gender fluid. Someone I went to school with
Mm-hmm.
identifies as gender fluid, and I
Yeah.
was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. And
But it
so
didn't quite feel like you. gender fluid
No, it
also
doesn't
didn't
feel
quite
like
feel
me
like you.
because it feels like identifying still with the male and the female.
Yeah, and what about agender? Does that also not quite feel like you?
That feels like a third gender to me. That feels like the
Interesting.
neutral, the das of
Yeah,
the dirty das in German.
interesting.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
agender, yes, it is a label I've played with as well.
Mhm, mhm.
And, when it comes to labels, I see labels as a basket of badges. I've got an image in my head now of you and me,
Mhm.
and maybe, a few other people, and we're all sitting in a really comfortable living room. Sofas around, throws, cushions, low lighting. It's
Oh, that sounds
fantastic.
nice.
Cups of tea, maybe a few little cheeky vodka here or something.
Brilliant.
So we're all sat there, and in the
Yeah.
table on the table in the middle of the room, there's a basket of badges. Those tiny little badges you pin on yourself,
Mm,
and they've got words on them: male, female, non-binary, agender, gender fluid, demigirl, demiboy, all of those. Now, all of those labels are there for an individual can go to that basket and pick out whichever badge they want to wear. And there's
mm.
plenty of them as well. So it's not a case of like, there's only one male one, there's only one female one. I've got it today. Ha ha. It's like, there's plenty for everyone. So it's up to
Yeah.
you as an individual to approach that basket and pick out whatever badge you want and put it on yourself. You
Mm,
can also then go and take that badge off whenever you want to.
mm.
You can also, there's also in the box of badges, there's some blank ones with the pen beside it, and you can write whatever word you want on there and put it on yourself and take it off
Yeah.
yourself.
I like that.
Uh,
Or wear more than one. Yeah.
yeah, you can wear
All the
as many
things.
as you want, but
Yeah.
the thing is, it's up to the individual to choose what badges
Mhm.
go on themselves and come off themselves. It's
Mm.
not up to everyone else in the room, or even outside of the room, or anywhere in the world, to say what badges go on that person.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And yet,
Yeah.
obviously, that is what happens a lot, isn't it? Like even when we're born, we basically get a badge, and that's it. And I think a lot of us aren't even aware enough of the not necessarily even the difference between sex and gender to really question it, because I'm just sort of trying to get my head around it all, and it's really interesting because it's very interlinked, like it's a boy or it's a girl at birth, the gender assigned at birth based on our
Yep.
genitals.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's so interesting. Yeah, unpacking and unpicking that. So yeah, so gender free. When did
Mhm.
you arrive at gender free?
About 5 minutes before I replied to your email to go on this podcast, to be honest. And then I Googled it to make sure it wasn't some kind of like horrible term that someone had.
Interesting. So what did you come up with, like when you were looking into it?
I came up with, and I've floated gender free before actually to one of
Mm,
my friends, and she's a trans girl. And I said to her, for me, I'd love this world where people are just humans.
mm,
And, you go into a clothes shop and there's you just buy whatever clothes you want. If
mm,
you want to buy a dress, you buy a dress and you wear a dress.
mm,
If you want to buy a waistcoat or clothes that would traditionally be associated with females, or clothes that would be traditionally associated with
mm,
males, you just go and buy clothes, whatever you want. If you want to wear a flowery pink dress, you go buy a flowery pink dress.
mm,
It's up to you. And I said, I'd love it in a world where it's just like, people are just humans. There is no male and female. And she got quite upset. And she said, no,
mm,
no, I really like feminine. I like being feminine. And I was like, of course you do, because
mm,
you fought so hard to get there.
mm,
With all your life, you've had like decades of people telling you you're male.
mm,
And I'm like, and you really want, she wants that badge female on her. So I'm like, I can't take that from her.
mm,
So
mm,
I never would. So the thing with the whole gender free is like I would never impose that on the rest of the world
mm,
ever. But it's what fits for me
mm.
personally. Where
Yeah, I really like it. Yeah.
where it's just like, are you male, female, or I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Well, no, just like, can we talk about something else, kind of thing. It's like, I mean, there are
Yeah.
obvious things I have to do. I was born into a body that's female. I don't want to change that body.
Hmm.
And having that body, so I've had to do certain things in my life, like use sanitary products for
Mm,
periods.
mm,
That's fine. I
mm,
just
Yeah.
And, obviously in a healthcare setting, there's certain scans and tests I get if you've
Mm,
got a female body, and certain scans and tests you've got if you've got a male body. I'm like, you know what? I'm fine with that. That's cool. That's not a problem.
mm,
So,
yeah.
I will take that. So there's the biological thing. I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's whatever it is. I'm a human with a
Mm,
female biological configuration.
mm, mm,
Okay, so that's fine.
yeah.
But as for the rest of it, I'm just a human, really.
Yeah. Nah. Yeah. And there's obviously all the assigned like gender roles
Oh,
that we're
they
like.
could get in the sea. They could just get in the sea, all of them. Sorry.
Ah.
Just like,
No, it's fair enough. Like,
no.
I mean, I guess like
Mhm,
the place where I arrived at or where I'm at the moment is like, assigned female at birth, given the label of woman. And I'm like, well, what does that even mean to me? And I know some people are really attached to that label and they are,
mhm,
whether they're cis or trans or, anything. And I'm a bit like, what does that even mean? I feel like I'm not quite sure, but there's gender roles and I'm like,
mhm,
I object, I object. But besides that, yeah, I'm a bit like, I don't really know. So do you feel like, let me just think how to ask.
mm.
Obviously, like, yeah, you say gender roles can get in the sea. Um,
If
do
they're
you,
assigned, if they're told to you by someone else, if someone
yeah,
else is saying to you, hey, well, this is your biological configuration. Therefore, these things apply to you in society, and
yeah,
these
these
things
labels
apply
you
to,
can wear,
yeah,
and these are like, no, no, not those,
yeah.
only these, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
this is it. Where it's like, okay, let's take this basket of badges and start putting things like engineer in there, and scientist,
Mm,
and just being told, oh no, women don't do those jobs.
right. Yeah.
Really? It's like, no, of course they do. I mean, I would have thought in 2022 we're well beyond that by now. Um, but,
Alas,
or
yeah.
yeah, we might have things like hysterical. Women are
Mm,
hysterical.
mm,
Yeah, men don't cry.
mm,
All these sort of things. I'm like,
yeah.
hang on a sec, no, no,
Yeah, when
no.
you start looking into all that, it does seem
Mhm.
absurd, doesn't it?
Yeah, I
Really.
mean, I've had situations. I remember selling a bike secondhand,
Mm,
and the guy was. I mean, I won't go into the whole like this happened and then this happened, but basically, the guy would have tried. I had a man with me at the time, or
mm,
someone who looked male. In fact, it was a cis man, and this guy would basically, if that cis man hadn't been there, he'd have tried to hammer me down on price.
mm, mm.
And I'm like, well, he can seriously, well, yeah.
You can swear.
Just like, no, all right, he can seriously get fucked. Like,
Yeah.
that
Right.
kind of thing. And,
Mm,
I've had this where guys, there are some, it's always cis men, isn't it? It's cis men. It's mostly cis men, unfortunately.
mm,
Appears to be.
yeah.
Yeah, I wish it wasn't. Yeah,
Mm,
it's kind of that thing of like, oh, well, there's a woman here, so let's not listen. And
mm,
I know this. I do know. I've got another friend who's happens to be a trans woman, and she had a nice story because she kept her, she transitioned, and all her workplace were just like, yeah, whatever, that's fine. Don't care, great.
mm,
Kept the same job, moved on, etc. Lovely. And
mm,
I remember her telling me, saying, she goes, I noticed it right away in meetings. She said, after I transitioned, people weren't listening to me as much.
mm-hmm.
It's like,
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Male
yeah,
privilege, huh?
yep. So she'd.
All that gone. Yeah.
Yeah, her male
Mm-hmm.
privilege was gone. She'd noticed it. She's like, but I'm exactly the
Yeah.
same person. I mean, she's a
That's
software
interesting, isn't
developer.
it?
Like,
Yeah.
she writes code. You don't
Mm.
write code with your genitals. So, like, hello.
Oh my god. Oh, that is such a good point, though. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean, I know sometimes if you've rather large on the boobs, you could lean over and sometimes accidentally type with them. But, like, generally, you don't write code with parts. Like,
oh my god.
duh.
Yeah.
So,
That is such a good point. It reminds me actually of this.
mhm.
There's this meme, like this whole campaign of let toys be toys, girls and
Oh,
boys,
yeah.
whatever.
Mhm.
And it's like people say, "Oh, do you operate this toy with your genitals?" No. Well,
No.
then it's for boys or girls. If you do, then it's not for kids.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. So, yeah, yeah.
God, yeah. I've seen a huge thing. I noticed that with toys in general, I've noticed once I got to adulthood, I was born in 1970, so I grew up in my childhood was 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there were a few sort of like dolls for girls. I never played with them. I was always I was Lego, and I did have a
Mm.
doll's house. I used to make up stories in the doll's house and perform them, and they were always weird things that meant the couple was splitting up, and then the woman threw herself off the roof of the house,
Oh
and the
no!
baby ran away and like became a drug addict.
Oh my
Where I was
goodness!
getting this from, I was under
How
10. I have no
interesting.
idea. No
Yeah,
idea. You should have
that's
seen what happened
different.
with this. Yeah, should have seen the
Mm.
Cindy dolls later. They all became lesbians. So, I don't know why.
Oh, brilliant! Oh my
um,
goodness.
but like
Yeah.
toys in general, what I did notice once I'd stopped come out that childhood thing, looking back, so people sort of
Mm.
10 years younger than me, I had an awful lot of gendering in toys.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, buying stuff for my nieces and nephews,
Mm-hmm.
or for my nibblings, as I like to call them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of like, okay, we've got an aisle for boys and an aisle for girls. I was like, and then like Lego for girls. I was like, Lego's just for kids. And so, I've
Yeah,
definitely
and
seen more
don't.
gendering in toys. And I'm like, that's
Oh, I
really,
know.
I just looked at it and thought, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah, and even other products, right? Let's do a women's version of something and make it pink. I mean, really?
I
You know?
know.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just
Uh,
ludicrous once you start sort of seeing it for what it really is, I suppose.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh my
yeah.
goodness. Well, let's talk a bit about pronouns. So, what
All right,
pronouns
yeah.
do you use?
Whatever you want, really. I
Yeah.
don't mind. I'm just
Mm.
not that fussed. They, she. I like to sometimes. I like to mix them up on my website. I like to
Yeah.
use they and she sometimes in the same sentence, just to
Yes.
make people go what, what,
Hang on. Wait, what?
because
See, I
just
like
for a
that
laugh.
too, actually. And like, I've met a few people who use like the pronoun pairs, like they, she, or she, they, or with he instead.
Mhm.
And yeah, some people actually use. I've spoken to Law who uses she and he pronouns. So I've been
Yeah.
thinking about adding they. A while ago, I heard actually this is quite a while ago. Someone used they when they talked about me like in a neutral way, and I was actually a bit like, actually, I don't know if I like that. But then I've been getting my head around it more and more, and I kind of almost like it. I do like it actually because I'm to me it almost feels like I'm not. It's not about not just being seen as a woman or as female. It's more of a like a feminist political thing for me. It's got that vibe to it for me, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, how does it feel to you to have certain pronouns used? Do you get a very different vibe from when someone uses they or when someone uses she? Do you feel seen in a different way?
But you know what? That's a really good question. When
Mm.
someone uses they, I feel like, oh, if they use it very naturally, I feel
Hmm.
quite nice. If they use it as in they, I'm like, okay, all right, no, you're just like egging this a bit too much.
Trying too hard.
um,
Yeah.
if someone uses she, I'm not going to get upset
Mm.
because, especially if they don't know me or
Mm.
they're a stranger on the street and so on. I'm
Mm.
like, I'm just not fussed. It doesn't bother me personally.
Hmm.
Yeah, and everything I say about my pronouns is only my personal how I
Mm.
feel, like how other
Hmm.
people. And I'd like to say as well here, whenever someone tells me their pronouns, I'll
Mm.
totally respect that, of
Mm.
like without question.
Hmm.
But yeah, for me, I'm like they, she, whatever. He,
Yeah.
not really. I don't think I'm a he.
Mm.
Doesn't feel good. I don't
Mm.
know. Maybe I'm still like juggling a few of those labels. What
Yeah,
I
that's fair.
definitely don't
Mm.
like is when people say, "Oh, mind the lady." I'm like, "Oh, fuck off, no. I'm like, mind that lady, mind that woman. Oh, that woman over there." I'm like, which, who? I often look
Who's
behind
that?
me. What?
Who are you referring
Yeah.
to?
So
Yeah.
I do like the drive towards more gender neutral language in
Yeah, that makes
public.
sense.
I
Yeah.
think it's, and I've seen posts go up saying things like, instead of saying hi guys, say hi everyone.
Yeah, because guys is used so much as like a neutral thing, but it really
Yeah.
isn't. And I've done
Yeah.
it myself, actually, to be fair. But yeah,
Yeah.
just more, the more I hear it, the more I'm like, not guys, not a guy, not inclusive. No.
Yeah. Or hey
Um,
girls, I'm hanging out with the girls. I'm
yeah,
like,
that's even. I
no.
don't know. For some bizarre reason, I find that
Mm.
even worse. That is
Yeah.
interesting. Oh, why is
Yeah.
that
And
worse?
it's
Yeah,
so easy to find alternatives. Hi guys,
yeah,
hi everyone. I'm hanging out with the girls. I'm hanging out with my friends.
yeah,
Um, you know what? I've
yeah,
really, lovely people. They're a lovely group of people. Yeah.
yeah. See,
People,
that's
humans,
interesting.
folks. There's
Yeah,
loads and loads of terms we can
totally.
use.
Yeah, see,
Which,
I don't really like being referred to as like in a group as girls, but I don't mind actually when someone says, "Oh, we're having like a friend says, oh, we're having a girls' night." You know, I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. Then I kind of know, I know what to expect. I know what that means, you know, and that's okay. But for some reason, if someone were to address a group of people and that I'm in and say girls, I'll be like, what? That's I don't know.
hmm,
Really interesting how it can feel so different in different contexts. To be honest.
it can, yeah.
Yeah.
Even with when someone says we're having a girls' night, immediately I just go, oh.
It's like, no thanks.
Yeah, my first thought
Yeah.
is no thanks, no, because I'm not going to. Probably, this is past times where I don't quite fit that. I
Yeah, and I
don't
guess it
fit
also
in.
yeah, and it also I think depends on like who your friends are and what they mean by a girls' night. You know, because a girls'
Yeah.
night for some can mean like I don't know, going dancing and drinking and I don't know, doing all sorts of things. And for someone else, like the more introverted amongst us, and be like, let's just get your PJs on and watch a film. I don't know. It's like whatever it means to whoever, you know.
Sorry, I've
Yeah.
just had to let girls night out. I'm going to get a group of trans girls. And it was like, yeah, been so go out drinking, dancing, and flashing your boobs in legends. Just
You know, each to
I
their own,
mean,
not
but that
judging.
was fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, no
yeah,
judgment at all.
no judgment. Yeah,
Yeah, but it just makes me think. Okay, girls' night. So are we saying doing things like? Yeah, I'm imagining things like drinking pink wine and doing your nails and doing a face pack. Are those exclusively female things? There's
yeah,
plenty of people
yeah,
who,
totally. Yeah,
it's like assigning roles to activities. So I'm like,
exactly,
Whereas if you said doing, face pack, drinking wine, we're having a pampering evening. I'm like, okay, you know,
exactly. Yeah, that's neutral, isn't it?
so
And then whoever wants
yeah,
to show up can show up.
yep.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so, yeah, I suppose if there was one thing I'd say, I'd like to see more gender neutral language used.
mm, yeah,
um,
absolutely.
for in public for everyone.
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
that's what I would like. Yeah, there we
that
are.
would
I
be
knew
good.
I'd find a flag to stick in the ground, and that is what I would like to
Yeah,
say. It's just to if I say to anyone, just try and be a bit more
mm,
gender neutral when you're referring to
mm,
people, groups of people in general.
mm. Yeah,
And
absolutely,
I
absolutely.
try, and I'm not perfect, but
Yeah,
I
it takes
try and do
practice,
things
doesn't
like,
it?
oh, mind, like, especially little ones saying, oh, mind the lady when the little one's running around pretending to be an aeroplane as children. I'd like to do, it's
Mm,
and they're like, mind the lady. I'm trying to think to myself, no, say mind that person there.
yeah, yeah, I like that. And even when you go to a shop,
Mhm.
like when I get addressed as madam, I'm like, what?
Oh,
It's
I hate
just,
that.
it's like, it just feels weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like madam. I don't like sir. They feel deferential as well and
Yeah,
classist.
it
So I'm
just
like,
feels outdated and
old
inaccurate.
fashioned. Yeah. And
Yeah,
what's wrong
exactly.
with going up someone's shop? Can I help you? Do you need any help?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Great.
And I think
Yeah.
some people probably do like it, but to me, it just feels like a very outdated thing. Yeah.
It does. Yeah. But
Mm.
maybe with older people, they might like it. But
Yeah, I think they
uh,
probably do. Yeah.
one day I'll be old. One day, I mean, born in this 1970, one day I'm going to look old. And that day is not that far away. So-
But that's good though, because then as an older person, I think you give less of a shit what people think. So then you can tell people what to do with their madam. To be like, there'll be a whole generation of older people in the future who'd be like,
yeah.
don't fucking call me madam. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Take your gender roles and shove them up
Shove them
your
up
ass.
your ass. Yeah, totally. Ah, that would be brilliant. I hope
Oh,
to be
yeah.
there when that happens because I will
Yes.
applaud. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and I know certainly the younger sort of non-binaries do love it when they see someone older saying,
Yeah.
because they're all they get in their 20s and teens, 20s, and maybe in their 30s. I mean, 30s, I think if you kind of, you're hanging on by your fingernails if you're claiming young in your 30s. Sorry. In my view. But yeah, certainly teens and
Ah,
20s, they're being told, oh, it's just a phase you're going through. It's just this
mm,
new thing. It's just something you saw on TikTok. It's just fashionable. No,
mm,
it's not. I mean, I noticed
yeah.
it for myself in 1975 or 6 at primary school when
Mm.
they said, like, boys go over there and girls go over there. They divided the
Yeah, I've heard various
class
people
up. I was
say
like,
that actually.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
what is this is so confusing, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really was. I know
Yeah.
my friend, the software developer, when she had that at school, she obviously walked to the girls' side because why wouldn't you? She was a girl.
Yeah.
And but being told, oh no, and they sort of laughingly, gently took her to the
Yeah,
boys and
that's
said,
so
no, you were
shit,
mine.
isn't it?
Oh, that is really
Yeah,
shit.
that is
Yeah.
shit. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, all the youngsters, this has been going on for years and years and years. There just wasn't the language around. So, if anyone is
Mm.
telling you, oh, it's just a new thing, it's just some fad on TikTok, you can tell them to shove it up their ass because it's not.
Mm. Yeah, well, let's hope people, catch up and don't get in situations where they are told to shove something up their arse. Yeah, because I think a lot of people actually do it from the perspective of wanting to be polite. But it is, yeah, times are different now and things just don't work like that anymore, really, you know?
Though I will have all the respect and love for someone who's like, look, I'm really confused here. Help me. I can't get this right. I want to get it right.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
they will never ever hear from me, certainly, ever any kind of anger or so on.
Mm,
Definitely not.
yeah.
No, I think that's
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah, all joking aside, obviously. But yeah, people who make an effort or try or say, like, exactly as you say. And it has to be, I feel like we all have to contribute to making a safe environment for that to happen. Because if
Mhm.
people feel like they're going to get either their head bitten off or get scolded for, being idiots or stupid or something, well, how's that going to help anything? Not at all, really.
Yeah, that is.
Mm,
I was talking about the youngsters. I'm like the youngsters who are really getting it in the neck.
mm,
It,
yeah.
but if I kind of go with the thing of like, no, I'll say try politely 3 times, and
Mm,
if I've tried
yeah.
politely 3 times and it's not happening, then I'll start getting a bit angry. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
exactly.
think
Yeah.
yeah, there are people that are trying, and also people are going to get it wrong. I get things wrong all the time. Oh my
Mm, I
god,
do too.
I make
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
course I do,
Yeah, I always
and
hope that it's well for me. I hope that I don't do it like publicly. But even though I feel like in conversations I've had with people, like, oh my god, what have I said? Oh shit, is this? Oh my god, is this okay? And I get in the moment, I get all like, oh no. But then when I listen to it again, it usually has settled a little bit. And even when I have gotten something wrong, I feel like no, I'm going to leave that in because it's okay to get it wrong and then make it right. You know.
mhm,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, totally. But then I sometimes get things wrong when I talk about other people to folks, and they're like, "Oh, wrong pronoun," and that bothers me when I do it. It really does bother me. But then I have to deal with that because that's not anyone else's problem but mine. So all you can do is
yeah,
make amends and move on.
yep.
Yeah. Mm. Well, talking a bit about the other labels you gave me. So,
Mm, mhm,
another label you gave me was autistic. And
mhm.
do you feel like, I think some people might feel like gender, autism, they're all facets of identity, aren't they? So, does it sort of fit together with you, for you in some way, shape, or form?
It does, I think. I mean, it's quite high in the
Mm,
trans community. The prevalence of autism is higher
yeah,
than
I've
in
heard that. Yeah.
the neurotypical community. There is that. It's something I've been looking at for what year am I now? 5 or 6 years now, and I have been put forward for an official diagnosis. But there's a big queue, so it'll be a couple of years yet. But all
Mm,
the sort of decent tests I do, like the RADS, I think it's a RADS 10. There's some really, really good resources out there. I don't, when I say I've taken a test online, I don't mean I've done a BuzzFeed quiz. All the scores say, yes, looking really possible, but it could be other things as well. It could be,
mm,
trauma from past stuff, small t
yeah.
trauma.
Yeah.
Um, I just don't know. But I thought, let's go and see about getting an official diagnosis and see how it goes. Also,
Hmm.
read up about it, learn about it. And of
Mm.
course, that now brings in autism in women because, I present as female. I've been socialised as female. I've been bred as female all my life.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
autism in women is massively underdiagnosed.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Mm.
and that brings in an even bigger thing about health in general. Women's
Mm.
health in general has been
Yes.
rather underfunded, and
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
not placed as importantly as men's health.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
Can't give you any specifics there, but there are people who know a hell of a lot more about it than I do who could.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. So let's climb back down this branch of many tangents I've gone down, back to
Yeah.
me. And so just I've been reading about it, looking into it, and just talking to people in the female autism community, and there's a lot of non-binaries in there as well,
Mm-hmm.
and,
Mm-hmm.
and just doing things that trying out things, going,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let's look at sensory processing disorder, and maybe I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a grumpy asshole. Maybe I just, if I'm in crowds, I can't handle crowds because
Mm-hmm.
of my senses get too overloaded.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like that is amplified maybe as you get older because I am noticing I've always been like a highly sensitive person. That's definitely
Mm-hmm.
something I recognize about myself. I feel like I'm also very likely neurodivergent in some shape or
Mm-hmm.
form.
Yeah,
So
and it
yes,
affects you as you get older.
yeah, totally.
Yes.
Yes, I feel that especially
Mm-hmm.
because sound is a thing for me. And like,
Mm-hmm.
crowds or even being along busy roads, I feel completely overwhelmed. But at the same time, I mean, I haven't done this for a long time, not just because of COVID, but other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I used to go to heavy metal concerts, and that's brilliant. I can just immerse myself in that. But like, I can get like auditory overload from other stuff very easily,
Yes.
like more so than I used to, which is just fascinating to me, really.
Sometimes, yeah, neurodivergent. Sometimes people will immerse themselves into something to get that sensory feeling. They either want a
Mm.
very heavy load of feelings
Mm.
or none. So that can happen as well. That just set off
Yeah.
a ping in my head from everything I've looked at. It's like
Interesting.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
So um, yeah, it could be. And
Mm.
as you get older, yeah, because I thought, oh, it's just me getting older.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it was like, well, actually, you can end up exhausted. There's such a thing as autistic burnout when you're so fed up
Yes.
from masking. You've
Yeah.
masked for so long, you just can't do it anymore.
Yeah. You're just like done. Yeah.
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 And
That makes
maybe,
so much
maybe
sense.
not. I don't
Mm.
know. I mean, I
Yeah.
haven't got any answers here. And
Mm-hmm.
in my head, my inner critic is screaming at me, going, "You should cite your resources. Like you can't make a definitive decision." I'm not making a
Mm.
definitive decision. I'm just saying I'm asking loads of questions and saying loads of maybes. So maybe there
Yeah.
is this. Maybe there is this. Maybe I'm female. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm autistic. Maybe I'm not. I don't know.
Mm.
I'm still
Mm.
rummaging around in that basket of labels, basket of
Yeah.
badges with all those labels, and just
Mm.
trying things out and seeing what works for me
Mm.
personally. And also, I'd like to encourage everyone else to do that as well. And just, you know, I suppose my message to everyone would be you do you to make your life comfortable for
Mm.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll respect that.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with picking up a label or a tag
Mm.
and like
Mhm.
just holding it for a bit and thinking, does this fit me? And then maybe not, and then in 2 years' time it does, or it's fit you like for 30 years, and then all of a sudden it doesn't. It's all sorts.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they're like
Yeah,
clothes. You don't wear the same clothes you wore when you were 5. I mean, number one, actually, I'm wearing a
they'd be
top that's
so
very
tight.
similar to how number one, they'd be extremely tight. Number two, I am actually wearing stripes. I used to love stripes when I was little. Um,
Yeah,
but, yeah, people change. Yeah, things
yeah,
change. Your tastes
true.
change.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, the autism thing, it does tend to be higher in the trans community, and, it's misdiagnosed or not noticed as much in women.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
also, sort of the communities I'm in where it is autistic women, there's an awful lot of those autistic women saying, actually, I think I fit non binary better.
Yeah, it's almost like what I hear quite a few autistic people say who are gender diverse. They just don't get gender. They just like what is this? I just don't get it.
Yes,
You
that
know?
feels bingo. That is exactly
Yeah.
how I feel. I'm like, what is this? Like you're It's totally illogical. It's really
Yeah.
illogical.
Like,
The
it just makes no
biological thing
sense.
makes sense. Yeah, okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense. But
Mm-hmm.
like dogs, okay? Dogs, when you see dogs walking along the seafront, as I like to do, and say hello to them, it's like
Mm-hmm.
they're walking up and down. Some of those dogs are boys and some of those dogs are girls. And
Mm-hmm.
some of them might be intersex as well. We don't know. You know what? I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not going around looking at dogs' junk, for God's sake. I'm just like,
Right.
like they're just dogs. They're like small dogs, big dogs, cute dogs, black dogs, white dogs,
Yeah.
brown dogs, multicolored dogs, all sorts.
Mm.
They're just like, and that's pretty much how I see humans.
Yeah. That makes so much sense.
Hmm.
Yeah. I quite like that. It
Yeah,
makes things simpler, really, doesn't it?
yeah,
To be honest. Yeah.
yeah. We're just
Yeah.
diverse and different,
Yep.
but we're all humans,
Yeah, definitely.
and that makes
Mm.
more sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the last label you gave me was
Hmm.
fat. So
Mm.
what made you mention that, and how do you feel about it? And what do you want to talk about when it comes to
Mm.
that label?
Well, with that brought me to clothes,
Mm.
because clothes that are specifically designed for women
Mm-hmm.
tend to hide fat really well.
Mm-hmm.
So and I know as well in the sort of androgynous clothes or the androgynous look, a lot of it's very thin.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, actually, no, there are bigger androgynous people around.
Mm-hmm.
So I wear a lot of clothes that would be traditionally called women's clothes,
Mm-hmm.
mainly because they hide parts of me that are fat. And the reasons I'm fat are many. There are many, which I'm not going to go into. But I hide my fat so I have less chance of a fat phobic attack.
Mm-hmm.
And I get, you know what, I still, in 2022, I still get people look at me and go, fat phobic attack, what's that? I'm like, no,
Mm-hmm.
seriously, sometimes it's always men, but men think they've got a right to shout at people who are large, oh, fatty, pig, disgusting. All these, like, and sorry, I should have put trigger warning on that.
That's okay. I will put that in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's always men usually.
Mm.
Um, it's always usually men. The majority of the majority
Yeah.
in my experience has been men,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they feel quite within their rights to say
Mm.
these things. Generally, because probably as they look at me as they see me as a fat woman, they don't want to put their penis in me, and it's like, oh my god, okay, well
Yeah,
that's my
it's so
heart just
rooted in
broken.
misogyny, isn't it?
It is. It's misogynist, and
Yeah.
it's like women are supposed to be
Wow.
small and little and petite,
Yeah, not
and
take up
it's
too
like,
much space and not be too fucking loud. Oh,
I
don't get me
know. So
started.
there's all of that. So
Yeah.
yes, there are fat phobic texts, and I'd rather not hear them.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And so I would like to wear more sort of gender neutral clothing, but I struggle to find it. I mean, I struggle to
Yeah.
find it generally,
Yeah, that sounds like
and
a gap in the market then, as it were, really, to for more diversity in that area. And
yeah,
it does piss me off as well, because I mean, looking at clothes and sizes and stuff,
hmm
and like you pick up something that's tiny and it's
hmm
like large or a medium. Like, in what world is this a medium or a large? This is just ridiculous.
I know.
Um, I know, I know. But
And
also, yeah, go on.
oh, sorry, just to say as well, I find a lot of a lot of larger clothes as well, and there's basically around where I live, there's one shop I can go into. I don't like buying clothes online. I want to try them on in the
Yeah.
shop
Is
because
it like a
also
sensory thing as well, like
it's
fabrics? Because
yep,
I
it's absolutely
absolutely, yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah,
a sensory thing.
yeah,
So I need to know what certain fabrics are going to be like on my
yeah,
skin.
yeah.
So there's one shop I can go to.
Mm.
So I'm very limited, and I find a lot of the larger stuff is. I mean, you can get t-shirts. That's great, but it's very sort of hyper feminized. And I'm
Mm.
like, I don't want to be. It's either black, and black doesn't suit me at all.
Right.
Or it's like really, really hyper feminine.
Mm.
And I'm like, no, I don't want this. So yeah, I mean, I got this a check
Yeah,
shirt. So that's
yeah.
basically you're either super femme or you're a lumberjack. That's your choice.
Ah, yeah.
And I'd love to see a bit more sort of stripes, plainer stuff in larger sizes.
Yeah, more variety. And also like in mannequins, because like I just walk
Mm.
around the city sometimes and I'm like, How many people actually look like that? 2%. I don't know. If that, you know, there should
Mm-hmm.
be so much more diversity in it. I'm actually really glad we're talking about this subject because
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's sort of a while ago
Mm-hmm.
since I recorded the intro of the podcast, but I think I say something along the lines of from body positivity to body dysmorphia, it's all welcome here.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also, I think in between that is actually body neutrality is a thing, isn't it?
What do you
Yeah.
mean by body neutrality?
I feel like I want to look it up. Let me look it up quickly. Body neutrality is like not supporting the hatred of our vessel, our physical structure,
Mm-hmm. Good.
or the love and adoration of our vessel. So it's kind of like a non-binary place almost. I take it, or I guess, you know, maybe it's that's the non-binary of the way we view our bodies is like body neutrality. So
Oh.
yeah, because it's so interesting because we also get told like yeah, one side of the spectrum is like all this social conditioning and like what
Mm-hmm.
it means to be a woman and how you have to look if you're a woman. And on the other hand, we get bombarded with messages of like, oh, you got to love yourself and you got to accept yourself and, you know, just accept your body for what it is and how it is and all that stuff. And that's great if you can get there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it can also it can also be a toxic thing, you know, if you take it too far and it can be bypassy. So those are my thoughts
Yeah.
on it. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, what I'm hearing in body neutrality is a balance.
Yeah.
So instead of saying like, oh, we got to get to this point where we look in the mirror and go, "Gosh, you gorgeous thing, you." I mean, like
Yeah.
try saying that when you've woken up with a hangover. You're just not. It's just not going to happen.
What,
Um,
like a gender roles hangover? Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
the hating your body, which is obviously not good, but more of a balance thing where you're
Yeah.
kind of just looking at yourself and going, you know what, yeah, I'm all right. You know what, yeah, I look all
Yeah,
right.
it's more about
Uh,
self-acceptance, I reckon, really,
yeah,
than like, yeah, the adoration of it.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's almost like the opposite of if you're I mean, if you've got a body that fits the societal standards of what a body should be,
Mm,
you know, quote in big quote marks, all of that. I mean, that's nice, maybe in some ways, in other ways, maybe it is just what it is. You know, bodies are bodies, and they come in such diverse shapes and sizes. And I think it can be so like, especially in this day and age. I've been watching a lot of Simon Sinek videos, and he talks a lot about millennials, you know, and the way they are in the workplace and all that stuff, and that they get like they've grown up with this, you know, a lot of technology and mobile phones and how it's addictive and like dopamine hits and things like that. And in this age of like, you know, like the Instagram perfection and stuff as well, it's almost like you know you almost dread to think when they get older and their bodies might not be behaving in the way they expect them to unless they work out, you know, like 3 times a day. I don't even know what it takes. It's again, it varies for everyone.
I know.
So you
I
know,
was thinking
it's
about
like,
this morning. Oh
well,
shit!
yeah,
It when the millennials hit
yeah,
50. Oh my god, are we going to hear about it? I'm like,
mm,
oh no, and I mean, I was thinking of it in a laughy way as well, but not in a
mm,
nasty laughing at people. But
yeah,
it's yeah, when millennials hit 50, of course we're going to hear about it because they're a noisy generation, bless them. And we heard all about it with the baby boomers. They're also a noisy generation, and we're in the middle as Gen X who just went, yeah, whatever, you know, yeah, whatever.
yeah. We've all got our characteristics. I didn't actually know what it all was. I had to look it up, like Gen X and Gen Z and millennials, and I was like, oh my god, what is it? What does it all mean? But
Yeah,
yeah,
actually, I probably have a very
mm,
Gen X attitude to gender. Where it's like, whatever, whatever, just be nice. Like, yeah. And
whatever,
with
just be nice. I like that. That should be in a t-shirt.
yeah,
Yeah.
body neutrality, having a balanced view, and also thinking about, well, your body is, what does it do? I had a friend years ago who was lamenting her, saying, oh, she wasn't as thin, or her body didn't
Mm,
look. Yeah, she's not this tall,
mm,
willowy thing. I went to, your body's amazing. It's given birth to 2 children, and
mm,
you run 3 marathons. I mean, your body's fantastic. For
mm,
me, I was just like, wow, your body's done so much.
mm,
Like,
mm.
wow, just
Yeah,
running for
totally.
miles and having
Yeah.
children. I mean, that's an amazing body.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's just like looking at it beyond the visual. like it's a powerful body, it's a strong body,
Yeah.
it's
It's
a resilient body, you
and
know?
also my body is I'm able-bodied,
Yeah.
for want
Hmm.
of probably a lot better
Yep.
word.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't need anything to help me
Yeah.
walk or
Yeah,
move
totally.
around.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for that,
Hmm. Yeah,
hugely,
we
because
take
not
it for
everyone has that.
granted. We
Yep.
think that's normal, and we just assume so, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, and there's like I feel like there's things that I've been waking up to when it comes to, the whole gender quest. Gender quest
Gender
has made
quest.
yeah.
Now I've got do you get laser guns with that?
That you should, rainbow ones. Yeah, so I feel like when you sort of lift the veil of that and you start seeing sexism and misogyny and stuff, I
Mm,
mean, there are still blind spots that I have when it comes to mostly ableism and probably fat phobia as well. I mean, we've all got that stuff built in, and I've been recently becoming aware of how even medical care, like when you're fat or overweight, it's almost like you get told to lose weight before you get actually treatment or seen or taken seriously for your symptoms. And that's
yes.
disgraceful. That is disgraceful,
There
you know?
are rare cases, but there are cases of people who have died because they've been
Totally.
told to lose weight and actually it was something else. And
Totally. I'm sure it's probably not as rare as we think that is, you know?
and I learned great stuff from Lindo Bacon, actually, who wrote the Health at Every Size book, and they
Ah.
are non-binary. They came out recently as non-binary.
Oh, wow. Hmm.
So
They sound like a good person to talk to as well, then, on
Yep,
the
and
pod.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
it's in their book. Then they said,
Hmm.
well, when you've got a medical professional and they're prescribing weight loss to you, say, yeah, that's great, but if I didn't need to lose weight, what would you recommend that I do?
Yeah, that's such a good
And
question.
and then just go and do that. Like,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Mm.
it is a huge fight, and Health at Every Size, the book. Lindo Bacon is a great person to look up for
Mm.
this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are things. Yeah, treatment is less, clothing is less. There's a whole raft
Mm.
of things, and basically, I'd say to someone, if you were seeing someone walk down the street and they were in a large body, do you think they deserve less respect as a human because of that? And if you
Mm.
think yes, they deserve less respect as a human, I think you need to take a really good, long, hard look at yourself.
Hmm. Yep.
If you say no, I'm like, yes, that is the right answer. They still deserve to be treated with respect as a human,
Hmm.
whatever someone's body size.
Totally. Yeah. So you mentioned, I mean, just sort of thinking about tying all this together, really,
Okay.
thinking about the body and
Hmm.
gender. Do
Hmm.
you have any other thoughts about how that links together for you? Because you said you're okay with your body. You have never felt like you wanted to change it. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, don't want to change.
Mm.
Obviously, parts of it are big. There's parts of my body that are big that would be easier for me if they were
Mm.
smaller.
Mm-hmm.
But I certainly don't want any kind of reassignment surgery,
Mm-hmm.
anything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yes, I've had a big, long journey with acceptance on body size as well, and
Mm.
that goes on. That's a
Mm.
full time job. Gender stuff, as I say, I'm still rooting around in that basket of labels, and maybe I will spend my whole life rooting around in that basket of labels. When I
Mm.
say I'm doing that, I don't do that all day, every day. It's just like
Yeah.
I might always have for my gender. I might always have a blank badge.
Mm.
I might always have a don't know, not sure.
Mm.
That's
Yep.
fine.
Totally. Yeah.
Um, that's fine by me. And I understand when people want to categorize people because I used to love playing with my Lego and categorizing up and lining up by color and by
Yeah.
number of blocks and everything. That was fun. I thought,
Yeah.
like, I know you were meant to build things with it, and I did, but I also like categorizing it. It was a hell
Oh
of a
dear
lot of
me.
fun.
Yes,
Um,
I used to do that with beads and things because I was into jewelry making, and I would
yeah,
just tip out boxes of them all together and spend my afternoon sorting them all out in shape and colour. That was my idea of
that's
fun.
fun.
Ah,
Yes,
yeah,
I would definitely
yeah.
check out the neurodiversity thing. There's something. There
Do the
might be
quiz. Do the quiz.
there might be
Yeah,
something in there, but yeah,
yeah.
it's just like I
Hmm.
understand people. kind of going, oh, I want people to pick a side and so on, because like
Yeah.
things need to, it's just nice to put things in categories sometimes. But also
Mm,
to that, I would say, well, it's not up to me to put myself in a category to make someone else feel comfortable.
totally. Yeah.
So, no.
Yeah.
And
No, thank you.
yeah, no, thank you. So, if there is going to be
Yeah.
any category, it's just the blank one or the
Hmm.
one with the question mark over it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Why not, eh? Why not?
And you never know, there might be a word appear in the future. When
Yeah,
I'm,
that makes you think, oh my God, yes, that's it.
yeah, you never know, it
Yeah.
could be 99, like walking with a couple of sticks, going, that's the one, I found it.
Give me that label.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I love it. Ah, is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't talked about yet, Jen?
Uh, with
Yeah.
business as well, I run my own business online. I do
Yeah.
like websites and things for
Yeah.
people.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's an awful lot of women in business things, and that's great. I would never want to stop them, because I know women get very, very, disadvantaged in the workplace and
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
on, of course.
Totally.
But I'd also love to see more people coming out and sticking that like gender free or non-binary flag in the ground
Mm.
and saying, this is me. Because I see a lot of people saying, oh, I do this for women and non-binary, and it's kind of like we're the and afterwards,
Mm.
the tagged on afterthought. And it's like, I'm thinking with my own stuff, I mean, I'm of coming forward and saying, I do this for non-binary and women.
Mm-hmm.
Just putting the N, not putting, let's put the non-binary or the agender
Yeah.
first.
Swapping it over. Yeah. Yeah,
Because I
that's
see a
such
lot
a
of
good
this,
point.
and it
Yeah.
is really worrying when I, approach, sort of mastermind groups and things like that, where it's women. It's like, well, do I really have to keep coming out here, and what reception will I get?
Mm.
Generally, my experience has been all positive,
Mm-hmm.
and that's great. And I love that people are now, making these statements on their website saying, we support the
BLT.
LGBTQI. Oh, bacon, lettuce and tomato sandwich. Now I'm hungry.
Oh, me too. Anyway, yeah.
Supporting, they're supporting the rainbow. I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
that's great, but I'd love
Mm.
to see a bit more of that first. I don't know. I'm
Mm. That's
still,
a good
yeah,
idea.
still
Yeah.
rummaging in that basket here, but I've
Yeah.
started looking
Inclusive
for.
language is tricky, isn't it? Like,
Mm,
yeah.
and no one's being deliberately exclusive.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and I think that's great. And there's people who are definitely working to that and saying, yes, we
Mm.
embrace that. But I actually
Mm.
want to see more people in the trans and non-binary community coming forward and saying, no, we're running our businesses
Mm.
and doing
Yeah.
this stuff and
Yeah.
putting it first. I don't know. I just thought, let's put this first. So I'm probably going to
Mm.
start doing a lot more of that, saying,
Nice.
I do this for non-binary folks. Oh, and women.
Afterthought. Yeah.
Yeah, and put,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm probably going to put the cis people as an afterthought
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair.
in my business. Very welcome. Allies are always, always welcome.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
just a thing I've been
Yeah, that's a good thing to think
thinking.
about, really.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this I will be putting out on my business thing. So send it to my mailing list, putting it up and saying, yes, I've been interviewed here and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
la la la. So yeah, just
Nice.
want to see. And
Mm-hmm.
as someone who does have that slippy gender, and it'd be nice to know if I go somewhere, work with someone, I don't have to hide that bit.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and I don't even, that it's not even an issue.
Yeah.
It's just accepted straight away. Fine, no bother. Bang,
Mm.
lovely.
Yeah.
That's what I'm. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. Nice one. Well, thank you so much for sharing all you've
Thank you.
shared.
Thank you for
Yeah.
having me. Thank you.
You can find out more details on the website at 50shadesofgender.com/Jenn, which is JENN, where you can also read the transcript, and you can find Jenn on their website, hellyeahtech.com. Thank you for listening to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. You can find us online at 50shadesofgender.com, on social media, and on YouTube. Again, if you'd like to support us, please consider becoming a patron on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/50 Shades of Gender or buy us a coffee. Links are on the website. We hope you will listen again. Until then, stay curious and open-minded. Yeah, some people actually use, I've spoken to Law who uses she and he pronouns. And then a lot of people use either she, they, or he, they, or they, she, or hey, thee. Hey, thee? Hey, thee, okay.
The
Hey,
prithee,
thee.
sire, what light doth through yonder window? So a lot of this is meant into laughing. Just
Okay. Yeah. So let me try and repeat it and I'll use this as an outtake. That was fucking hilarious. Oh,
I mean,
hang on.
I've
You're
done
breaking
some.
up a bit. Let me
Okay.
just get you back.
Okay, let me just have a.
Oh, yeah, have a puff.
No, it won't switch on.
It's Mercury retrograde, you know.
Is it? This would explain an awful
That would
lot.
explain a lot, wouldn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
Christ, I can't get this thing to work.
Yeah. Better?
Oh. Yes, I'm ready to go again.